If you try and take a cat apart to see how it works, the first thing you'll have in your hands is a non-working cat. Douglas Adams. Pipbucks are stupidly useful. Auto mapping and the route planning meant I would not get lost in this maze of a stable, and it gave me the names of areas I have been to. It was a nice trade-off for how sore my left leg was getting for having it on. I had not felt it before, but I also had not done any actual work for the time since I first woke up. The thing was like a big piece of armor on my leg. Probably able to keep any pony from breaking my leg, but it was a bit heavy. Sooner I could replace it with one of the Pipbucks every pony else had, the better. The walk to the elevator took me around the atrium, passing a few other doors to different wings of residential. I did pass one pony on my way, but she was reading something as she walked. Bad habit that smart unicorns tended to have. Other than that, I was alone with my thoughts. Though with having to navigate the stable, I was unable to get past the thought of when I should turn next. The two maintenance ponies from Lab B were at the elevator when I arrived. Their names, Easy Fix and Stress Test, of which I only remembered because they actually had name tags on them. Easy Fix walked up to me. "Hey, Slow Trot. The girls told us you'd be coming down here. Miss Healing Herbs must be easier to read than a billboard." When he got close, he poked me with his elbow. "So how about that candy? Cute gal, a bit crazy, but who don't like a little spice?" I raised my eyebrow at Easy Fix. It was true that she was cute, but it felt a bit forced. And crazy was not what I would call good spice. True, that I think that it's best that, well, the moonshine just hit me, that I keep things as friends. Easy Fix shook his head. "You gotta live a little more. If I was 20 years younger and not have met my wife, I'd show that girl a good time." He helped me stabilize myself, which I was thankful for. "Now you better not puke on me. Sweetgrass told me that she was not going to wash nothing until she had a full wash." "Nah, I only do that when I mix my rum with my beers," I blurted out. "Kid, I gotta show you how to make a real drink. You can't just throw things together." He helped me to the elevator. As Easy Fix helped me to the elevator, not that I needed much help, I was only a little dizzy, just had to wait for the room to stop moving. The floor of the elevator felt like a nice sanctuary for me, allowing me to look up at Stress Test, who was looking down at me. "How much of the moonshine did they give you?" Stress Test said as he closed the door. "A soda bottle of it. It's strong stuff. Burns real good." Stress Test huffed. "Just keep it away from any open flames. Your breath might be flammable." Easy Fix started to laugh. "Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. So, Slow Trot, did you pick up the B-Lab bottles? Because we're making a stop at A-Labs first, if you did." "Ironbuck, pull out a B-Lab soda." The bottle lifted out of my pack and scraped along the metal of the floor before rolling away when I blinked. Picking up the soda, Stress Test put it in my bag. "Well, look at this." I felt him pull out something else. "This should help you feel a lot better." I heard a twist of a cap and a bottle being pushed into my mouth. The taste was off, having a bit of a lime flavor to it, but with onions, peas, and a bit of spinach. The overall terrible drink that I drank down greedily. A-Lab soda. Tastes awful, but the best hangover cure we have here. Also helps making a pony less drunk. I really didn't care what he had to say at that point. The aftertaste was bad enough that I got back to my hooves. "How do you make that stuff? I'm afraid to ask what C-Lab soda does." "It gives you night vision," Stress Test responded. I face-hoofed, but do still have feeling off-balanced. I found myself back on the floor. Easy Fix just laughed before helping me up to my hooves again. "Good thing your saddlebags are meant to take a hit, or that would have been a mess right there." Drinking a second A-Lab soda I had gotten out of the elevator, the stuff still tasted horrible, but helped to get my head clear. Labs A was a lot different than Labs B, it being home to a few small apple orchards as well as a bunch of other rooms for growing food. Further in was a laboratory, where they were doing some things with said food. If I were smarter, I might know what was going on. The smell of the lab itself was making me hungry, reminding me of a marketplace back home, though with the addition of a burnt smell. Even the techs here looked a lot different, foregoing the lab barding for something that looked more like the cloths that farm ponies wear. Easy Fix and Stress Test chatted to me about A-Labs during our walk, telling me about the different things that were being grown down here, and that soon they will be shipping out portable machines for rescaling what's waste into food. Stress Test didn't like the idea of it, but did agree that it would help a stable survive. Personally, I started to think about the green burgers I had the other day, and how Pear Tart told me he used something from an organic matter recycling unit. I would need to ask him some questions next time I saw him. Stopping at a different area of Labs A, the smell of food was not as strong here, and I could hear the sound of machines at work humming through an open door. And here we are manufacturing, Easy Fix spoke up, pointing down the hall. If you break anything, they won't just make a new one, but a better thing to replace it. But to do that, and Stable-Tec makes everything last, most of the workers in manufacturing are helping out in other departments. Stress Test added. Passing a few rooms, I could see some boxes of stuff. Most of it was standard Stable-Tec supply, and a lot of raw materials were stacked all over. One room had different versions of stable barding hung up on display. The one I had on was there, as well as another stable barding that would have parts covering most of a pony's body, which seemed strange to me. A different room had boxes of Pipbucks, Pipbuck parts, and Pipbuck tools. The three of us eventually stopped, Easy Fix pressing a button to open the door to a workshop and waving me to go in. The workshop itself reminded me of the Pipbuck lab, though with far less terminals and more heavy-duty machinery. Inside the workshop were two ponies, a unicorn stallion and an earth pony mare. Both were working in their own area. The unicorn was tinkering with something small. The magic horns were useful for that kind of stuff. The earth pony was working on something bigger, using her strength to push pieces in place. Oi! We got your soda here! Stress Test spoke up after he closed the door behind us. But Candy Pop got in trouble trying to get you the stuff, so you'll need to let this quiet. Two ponies stopped their work and walked over, giving the two maintenance ponies a hoof bump. Finally! I know the stuff can't be good for me, but it's been hard staying awake. The unicorn spoke up with tired enthusiasticness. He had a short cream mane and a dark gray coat. If we're going to be done on time, we can't be falling asleep. The earth pony mare sounded and looked ready to keel over. Her dark brown mane and light brown coat was stained with grease. Well, lucky day. Thanks to Slow Trot here, we've got 10 bottles for each of you. He pointed with a hoof to the mare. Slow Trot, this is copper wire. And then to the stallion. And Short Fuse. The two also gave me a hoof bump. Getting a better look at the workshop, it was a simple, chaotic order. Most things seemed to have their place, but everything else was all over the place. I could not make heads or tails of the room, other than this was a place for very busy ponies. Finding a few empty baskets, I placed them near my Pipbuck for the bottles to go into. Ironbuck, place all the soda I have in the baskets next to me. My saddlebags opened up, and one by one the bottles came out and lined up on the table. There were 21 bottles of B-Lab soda, and 2 C-Lab sodas now in the basket. I took back the extra bottles, leaving them with just the 20. So, why was she banning this stuff? Other than the glow part? Stress Test was clearing his throat before speaking up. The stuff might be mildly addicting, and the glow has a lot of ponies worried about it not being safe to drink. In small amounts, it's perfectly safe, but all the same, these two are the only ones we give the stuff to. Copperwire had pushed the bottles under a desk before walking back to us. Luckily, the sodas that we make here is a good counter to Lab B sodas. Terrible taste, but pumps so much of the good stuff in you that your body forces itself better. No cure for an addiction, but I hear that Lifebeat is working on that. Oh, before you go, Shortfuse spoke up. Can we have the 2 C-Lab sodas you have there? That stuff is good for working on light-sensitive projects. We'll trade you a hat for it. I was a bit skeptical, but could not think of needing night vision anytime soon, so I traded them for the hat. The hat Shortfuse gave me looked like a bit like the kind old frontier ponies would have on. Also, it felt like stable barding, but it held the shape even though being entirely flexible. The haze is made out of. I flopped the dark blue hat onto my head. It actually felt nice and snug. Shortfuse cracked a smile. We had a bad batch of material for stable barding of a month ago. The canvas was good quality, but not working for what we needed it for. So we had some fun with it. As it turns out, it was great for making hats with. Excellent for whenever we get to leave the stable on our time off. I put the hat in my saddlebags. Felt like a real good trade, as hats did tend to last longer than soda or two. And the stuff was also great for other things, like welding aprons and covers for my hooves when walking around hot metal. When the stupid war is over, we're going to get a patent on the fabric and get rich. Copperwire said before taking a sip of the B-Lab soda. Just remember, you two, keep it to a bottle a day. I doubt the techs can may anymore anytime soon. Not mostly just not want to see you guys get sick because of it. Stress Test's voice had a more serious tone to it. Copperwire waved her hoof dismissively. Oh, don't worry. We just need to get a little projects done, and then we'll get some sleep. Easyfix opened the door for us to leave, seeing that the 2 ponies in the workshop had gone back to work. Stress Test smiled and shook his head before walking out. So, do you think they'll be fine? I mean, we did just give them something that was addicting. I asked the 2 maintenance ponies, hoping I was not prying. Stress Test huffed again. It's potentially mildly addicting, but the moonshine you had earlier is far more addicting than the stuff we've given them. It's the glowing part that has me worried. We continued down the hall to the elevator, a smell of fresh, growing food making my mouth water a little. Once in Labs B, the 2 maintenance ponies went their own way, saying something about checking on the pipes and such. So I was on my own until I got to the Pipbuck lab. With my route planned out on my Pipbuck maps, it was not going to be a long walk, so I felt like taking my time to look at some of the open rooms along the way. Things didn't look different from the last time I looked around, but now that I had more time to look, and with far fewer ponies around. Most rooms were empty and dark, which made me feel uneasy as I passed by them. The rooms that had ponies inside were filled with the sound of them tapping away at terminals, and it looked just as boring as it sounded. Cats. Curiosity, Mr. Slowtrot. Cats and curiosity. A mare's voice spoke softly from behind me, nearly making me jump. Turning around, I saw a black mare standing there. Her eyes and lab coat seemingly popped out in contrast to her black mane and coat. Oh, it's you. I didn't get to thank you earlier, Miss. The name's Probator, she said with a regal tone to it. Now that I got a better look at her, she was actually cute looking. A bit shadowy, but had its own charm to it. Ah, well, thanks, Probator. I'm actually heading to the Pipbuck lab. Got some cool research stuff going on. Unless you're busy. I gave my best smile. I didn't feel too smart, but I might have the charm, at least, to get on her good side. Her face crunched up a bit at my question, but quickly relaxed. I was actually heading down there myself. The work they're doing with that Pipbuck, it has piqued my interest. Well, that worked well with me, though this did ruin my short quiet time on my way to the Pipbuck lab, but sharing that time with a cute mare felt like a good trade. Oh, they only got it to work properly. The levitation thing as well. I spoke up as we started to walk together. But the testing on it should start soon. Well, I think it is. Not really all that impressive. Jovita giggled a little. True, but I'm still interested nonetheless. At the very least, it may prove entertaining. I had to remind myself that this was a stable full of smart ponies, and, well, also orphans. But down here, it was just smart ponies, with interest that just flies over my head. Well, I hope it is. I personally can't make heads or tails of all the computer stuff. I wouldn't worry about understanding anything. She looked into my eyes. It felt like she was looking through me. Some knowledge is just not meant to be understood. Just accepted. The soft hiss of the door opening drew my attention, and in front of me was Emerald Fields. Oh, you're here, Slowtrot. I was about to come get you. This will save me some time. She motioned for her hoof to make me enter the lab. Looking back at Jovita, she was gone again. Is there something wrong, Slowtrot? Emerald asked with a hint of concern in her voice. No, nothing's wrong. Turned back to the Pipbuck lab, walking past Emerald. Just that some of you lab ponies can be a bit weird. Not to offend. Emerald Fields smiled and rolled her eyes as she closed the door. Oh, don't get me started. We've got at least 3 mad scientists down in Lab C. Inside the Pipbuck lab, things were much more busy than they were the last 2 times I was here. There were more ponies inside, all tapping away at terminals. Cloudbank seemed to be the one in charge of them all, as they would hoof over what they, I guess, were chips before going back to the terminals. June was still on her oversized terminal, tapping away at the keyboard. So, not just the 4 of us this time? I asked. Nope. June got the overmare to free up some of our techs from Lab C. With them helping, we can modify the Pipbuck with nearly no chance of an error happening, and get right to testing the Pipbuck out. Emerald trotted to her desk. Still had the gutted Pipbucks all over it. Now, come here. I need to prep your Pipbuck. Stepping up to the desk, I watched her push the Pipbuck parts to the side, and pull out a bigger one in front of me. It seemed a little different than the normal 3000 unit. The thing looked a little bigger than a regular Pipbuck, but seemed less bulky at the same time. The screen didn't pop out as far as it does on a normal Pipbuck, and the sides were much smoother, more like curved plates of metal. Beautiful, isn't she? It's the Pipbuck 3200, but we call it the SRP Mark II, even if we're not making new models for public distribution anymore. Ponies will be throwing their bits at Stable-Tec just to get their hooves on one. She opened a small panel on the SRP, and plugged a cable into it and looked back up at me. Now I just need to synchronize your Pipbuck with this one, so you can put your right hoof up in the air. I did as she asked, and in one swift motion, the SRP was snapped into my right hoof, and she once again opened the panel on my Pipbuck, and plugged the other end of the cable into it. This is going to feel a little weird. It's perfectly safe. She pressed a button on the SRP, turning it on. The EFS became fuzzy, as all the displays in my vision were active. What do you mean by synchronize? And what does SRP mean? I was starting to feel a little dizzy. Another set of displays appeared in my vision, turning all of them into an unreadable mess. Search and Rescue Pipbuck. That's what SRP stands for. As for the synchronizing, the OS from the 2600 is a mess. That's only because the VI being in it. That Pipbuck has not gone haywire. By synchronizing it to the 3200, we're updating the OS, which should make cleaning out the rest of the defective security programs and putting in the new programs much safer and faster. I barely understood what she just said. The fuzziness was starting to go away. Okay, but what's an OS? Emerald sighed. Operating system. It's the backbone of the Pipbuck software. Without it, the Pipbuck can't even work. It's like how we breathe without needing to actually think about it. I was starting to understand a little, but it mostly still flew over my head. So, without it, the Pipbuck doesn't even work? but the one with the 3600 is broken, so you're going to replace it with a new OS. She nodded her head in agreement. The fuzziness was now gone, and there was now only one EFS in my vision. I think it's done. Do I take it off now? She shook her head. It's going to take just a little longer, and we will need the 2 Pipbucks to stay on until we finish modifying the 2600. Emerald then pointed at June. But it should be ready to plug in. Let's go over there and set you up. She stepped away from her desk and walked over to June. I followed her awkwardly with the 2 Pipbucks on and the cable between them around the back of my neck. The ashtray on June's desk was filled with cigarette butts, and she had another cigarette lit up in her muzzle. Plug him in, Emerald. We just need to correct a few more lines of code before we're ready. Her hooves tapping away at the keyboard still, not losing her focus. Emerald Fields gave me a shrug before plugging the thing in with her magic. Cloudbank trotted over, holding a small basket on a wing. It rattled with the sound of loose chips with each step. It's so good having a team again. I may be smarter than the whole lot, but only I can work so fast on my own. A grunt came from one of the techs, and Cloudbank ignored it. Most of the chips are all cleaned up, and that includes the ones we need to put the Pipbuck in for testing. Emerald used her magic to take all the chips and plug them into June's terminal. The thing looked like it could take 10 more. I have a question. Why do you need this Pipbuck? I don't think you ever told me. I thought this was the best time to ask. They're about to mess with the thing again, and after I was careful not to mess with the settings or plug it into anything. Cloudbank was the first to respond. Oh, we did forget to mention that we need it, or didn't we? Well, after we made the batch of 2600s, the MAS took them to their labs, and just messed with everything. Though the only thing that came from their tinkering was working stealth bucks. The rest blew up in their faces. But the 2600 has some insane ability for holding spells. If we can tweak the thing just right, we might be able to use it for teleportation. Emerald Field then cut in. The plan we have is to connect all these stables together using teleportation. The problem is that installing a teleportation chamber is costly, time-consuming, and prone to catastrophic failure, when even pushed over its limits a little. So if some pony is even a little out of the safe zone, then zap! The lower half of them is in one stable, and the other half is one that they stayed in. As it turns out, a single pony spell is both power efficient and far safer with a set destination. If we can make it work, then we can turn it into a Pipbuck attachment, and with destination nodes, make far cheaper, far easier to repair equipment. Now, I'm not a very smart pony, but I did understand that clearly. The first thing to come to mind was that if a stable was failing the teleportation, they could just move to another stable and wait for it to get repaired. That, or if leaving the stable was impossible, they could simply leave through a different stable. June turned her seat around to look at us. Everything's in order. So get comfortable, Slow Trot. This is going to take some time to download into the Pipbuck. Took a long, deep inhale of her cigarette, then exhaled the white smoke, covering her face into a cloud. You can say we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the next big advancement in science. That's the shit I live for. Well, I was already sold. June being a badass scientist that will save lives with science, that was like the rich chocolate that covered the cake. It made something good into something awesome. Emerald had put down a cushion next to the main terminal for me to lay on, it being comfortable enough that I could sleep on it if I wanted to. All the techs were at their terminals, long cables all tangling together, connecting June's terminal. Their eyes looked at her, nervously waiting for it to start. In a dark corner of the lab, I could see 2 golden eyes looking at me. The gleaming white teeth formed a smile. She stepped out of the shadows, mouthing words to me. She was too far away for me to hear what she was saying, but the hair along my spine stood up. Something I didn't know what felt wrong. I tried to turn my head to ask June to hold off a minute, but I found that I couldn't move, nor could anyone else. Time had stopped for me. SATS had activated on its own, and I could not turn it off. Error. Error. Counter-information leak program deactivated. User termination activated. Error. User termination deactivated. The green message flashed into my vision. I could only feel relieved that it was not going to kill me, but time was still not moving, making me worry that something else was going to go wrong. File corrupted. File missing. File found. Retrieving memory. Great. Going to show me another OIA message or memory? Wait, what the hell's the OIA? It's the Office of Interministry Affairs. Not something a simpleton like you would know anything about. She stepped forward around the frozen ponies. Now, give me the secret your Pipbuck holds, the secret that Luna let to get away from her. She now stood face to face with me, her golden eyes looking past my own, like I was nothing to her, just another hurdle to work around. Secrets that may have been kept away from Luna herself. Memory retrieved. Reactivating sleeper agent. Activating operation. Burial at sea. The salty water of the ocean caressed my cheek. The moonless night bathed everything in darkness. The rocking of the boat felt like I was in my mother's hooves. On the water before me was a grand warship, its lights making it seem to glow in the darkness. I could feel myself sigh as my eyes stared at the ship. "Captain Roseland!" The light gray mare said with a sigh on mane. She stood next to my side. "Everything's in order. We just need your approval to start the operation." Her salute was firm and with purpose, but my eyes returned to the ship. "At ease, Lieutenant." The right hoof of the body I was in reached out at the ship, and it moved in a way as though trying to caress it. "We have one last thing to do." The voice, feeling of the body, and how the Pipbuck 2600 felt on her leg. I was back in Thorn Roseland. I tried to rack my brain around what was going on, but because of the lack of control I had over the body I was doing, any clear thought I had were forced from me every time she moved or talked. She's a wonderful thing to behold, so strong, so capable, and so loyal to its core. Thorn's hoof still pinned in the air at the warship. How does that old fool get to be your lover when it should be me? A crack of a smile formed on Thorn's lips. As she retraced her hoof, her head slowly turned to the lieutenant. "The operation cannot begin until I meet with Admiral Lifejacket." The lieutenant remained stoic and said, but Thorn's eyes focused on the slight twitch in the lieutenant's left eye. "Now send me over to the Leviathan, Lieutenant. I can't help keep the others waiting." The lieutenant's horn began to glow. Then everything slipped away. It felt like I was falling. Like Thorn was falling. It all ended almost as soon as it began, and before me was a stallion unicorn. Light blue coat, pale green mane, saluting Thorn. "Welcome aboard the flagship, EQNC, Levitation." The stallion spoke softly. Thorn's eyes scanned all around her, giving me a better look at the ship. Everything about the ship was huge. I could only see a little bit of it from where Thorn was, but the row of massive cannons was all I needed to know about its destructive power. Thorn ran her hoof gently along the metal, shivering a little as she did. "Are you happy to see me again? I'm happy to see you." Her voice sounded genital and a little sweet. Turning her gaze back to the stallion, her voice became a firm whisper. "Lieutenant, stand guard here and wait for my return." The stallion gave another salute, not showing any sign of speaking more than he already had. Using her stealth bucks, Thorn quietly walked down the deck of the ship, and slipping inside one of the doors, her hooves making little to no noise on each step. Inside the Leviathan, it was quiet, with only a few ponies out and working, giving the ship an almost feeling of calm and anticipation. Most of the Navy ponies that were up were sitting around. Playing cards, reading books were a common pastime from what I could see. Thorn eventually stopped at a door. Next to it was a metal plate with the name Admiral Life Jacket in bold print. I could feel Thorn's right hoof raise up to the door, and right before she knocked, her stealth buck finally gave out. Straightening out her uniform as she waited, a green marker on the EFS showed that some pony was moving around the other side. It was a couple of seconds before the door opened. Admiral Life Jacket was an older orange stallion. His beard had a good long hoof-long mount to it, and along his mane, all white as snow. "On! One day you have to tell me how you can sneak onto my ship so easily." He gave me a smile and let me in. Let her in. "If I told you, then I wouldn't be so special to you, would I?" Thorn fluttered her eyes at the old stallion as he closed the door. "I don't like the idea of torching my own subordinates, but you really do push the line with me." The orange pony, from what I could guess, was Admiral Life Jacket, walked over to a liquor cabinet and poured himself and Thorn a glass of brown liquid. "You need to stick to the normal channels, Thorn. I can't protect you if you're found where you're not meant to be." "But I do love the wipes and paddles." Sitting on the bed, she took the glass and hoof, had a sip. It must have been wild Pegasus, but had well ages labeled. The vapor alone tasted spectacular. "But don't worry about me. I do have my connections. It's been over a year since I was your executive officer." Life Jacket sighed as he sat next to Thorn. "Why are you here, Thorn? You have your own ship to take care of." His tone was stern, not looking at her when she looked at him. The closeness had me feeling worries, and only worried me more when she put her head on his shoulder. "Can't I just come to see you? It's been too long already." Life Jacket gently pushed her off of him. "Damn it, Thorn. My wife already thinks something's up. If she found out about you, it'd kill her." He downed his glass before walking back to the liquor cabinet. "Let's stop this. You can easily find a nice stallion, so go do that." "You know she doesn't care for you." Thorn put her glass on the nightstand and got off the bed. "Not like I do. When was the last time she even said she loved you?" Life Jacket flinched at her words, almost spilling some of the whiskey as he poured himself another glass. "But I still love her." He put the glass down. "Just go, Thorn. The thing between us, it's over." Thorn had walked right up to the Admiral's left. He was looking at nothing but his drink, his eyes downcast. "I'm sorry." I could feel Thorn put a hoof around him in a hug. He didn't move, other than to put the bottle of whiskey down. Things were different. The hoof moved to his neck. "Then I would never have needed to fuck you." His eyes suddenly locked with hers, almost like he was looking past her and at me. Time stopped, and Life Jacket came highlighted with a green glow, stating a 99% chance to hit. Then it was just his head that was highlighted, and an option to execute appeared next to the strike. Time then began to return to normal speed, with my eyes unable to look away as Thorn's left hoof came up, and together with her right hoof, twisted Life Jacket's neck nearly backwards. By the time he hit the floor, time had returned to normal. Life Jacket was dead in a split second. Thorn was calm. No worse. She was happy. I could feel her mouth contort into a wide grin. Then she started to sing, her voice filled with a pleasant malice. "This night is going to be perfect." She dragged Life Jacket's body back to the bed, tucking him in as though he was just sleeping. "The kind of which I've dreamed since I was small." Taking the 2 glasses filled with whiskey, she dumped the wild Pegasus down the drain and cleaned the glasses before putting them away. "Pony will gather round." She then walked to the trophies room. "Say that I'm heroic in my honors." Grabbing a sword used by zebra officers, Thorn wrapped it up and attached it to her belt. What they don't know is that I'll have fooled them all. Thorn put the bottle of whiskey back into his place and looked around the room. All signs that any other pony was here was now gone. I could care less about the rank. I won't partake in any parade. Oaths I'll be lying when I say that I swear to defend Equestria from enemies foreign and domestic. The truth is that I don't care for it at all. No, I do not love Equestria. In my heart there is no room. All I want is this ship to be all mine. The gaze she had in a nearby looking-glass sealed my disgust. Her eyes felt vicious, and a wide smile that seemed filled with glee. Turning on her second stealth buck, Thorn stepped out of Blackjacket's room, quietly closing the door behind her. The ship was once more back to its still quietness, with the few Navy ponies that were about. How they were ignorant to what had just happened. Filled with rage I had never known. Wanting to tell the Navy ponies that she was here, that they needed to stop her. Thorn got outside, unopposed. Each step on the deck felt like she was doing a victory dance. I wanted to scream, to throw up, to do anything but be in her body, yet I was trapped. The stealth buck deactivated as Thorn got in sight of her second lieutenant unicorn, who was waiting for her in the same spot she had arrived. As she trotted up to him, his horn began to glow, and Thorn looked back at the ship, slowly waving her hoof at it, as though caressing the ship. Sorry, my love. We must part for now, but soon we'll be together. Forever. Once more, the same sensation of falling came. The other end of the teleportation never came, bringing me to a stillness that freed my mind to finally think properly, but only to realize an oppressing darkness that surrounded me. It had a coldness that passed through my fur, and my attempt to hold myself didn't keep me warm. Oh shit. I can't move. Can't talk. Having my back hooves, I found something solid for me to stand on. It was strange, as I was floating before. I checked myself quickly to confirm that I was no longer a mare. Everything in the right spot. Right. Brent or Tars, am I? Not a bad guess. Or a simpleton. She spoke inside my head as a gigantic golden orb appeared before me, like a sun that gave no light in the darkness. I slowly backed away from the orb, unsure of what it would do any good. What's going on? Where are you? Oh, I think you can guess. You ponies do fear my kind so dearly. The golden orb backed away, as the darkness took form, revealing a harsh landscape around me. I stood on top of a spire made of solid stone, and all around were other spires. Each one had a flat top and a cage. Looking back to the spire I was on, the darkness had formed into a black dragon with golden eyes. It formed from a cage under it, and inside the cage, consumed with black fog, with two golden eyes staring back at me from the darkness. Honestly, I'm feeling a bit too freaked out to make any guesses. I quivered as I spoke. Footnote: 75% to next level.